commissions. So I don't necessarily have like a template for this conversation. I was more hoping to just do like open mind or like open communication, open questions. You know, I'm Brad Mattern and then this is Jessica Mattern. We're the Mattern team. So we've been with the Market Center. Jessica started in 2016.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm losing track of how long we've been here. Yeah, 2016. I've been in 2018. We've steadily increased our business as the years have gone on. Your first year, you did
22 units and about almost, I think 7 million in volume.
All the way up to last year where we were able to do 17.5 million in volume. So,
well, I can make a list. I mean, we're here to take your questions. Looks like somebody's in the chat.
oh, I'll keep an eye on the
We're
chat.
here to take your questions. I'll write them down up here and then we're gonna talk about whatever you guys want to talk about. So is there any kind of topic that you guys want to cover, Julia? Julia's here with us.
Hey, Jessica, this is Joe.
Hi, Joe.
How are you guys?
Great.
Quick question. What are your three lead sources of lead gen?
Oops.
Uh-oh. So lead sources, is that what you said, Joe?
Yeah, lead generation sources. What are you guys using? What are you guys utilizing? Are you doing farming? Are you doing circle prospecting? That kind of stuff.
Okay. And then Jay says how we got from 5 to 10 million. Okay, anything else we want to cover? Hi, Cindy.
Hi. I like my pen, so
There's probably another one.
I've got one.
extra one, I will. Are you sure? Okay, that would be. Right.
Hi, Mike. Okay, do we have another question? These are only two topics. This is gonna be a short. This is gonna be
My
easy.
question is Jay's question. So I have
Okay.
the same question.
Going from 5 to 10. Okay. Anything else we want to cover?
I'd say we hit on those first.
We'll start on those. Okay.
Yeah, because that's really what we did, or at least what you did when you first got started and then when I joined in.
Yeah, okay, so, well, on the lead gen sources side of things, when I started in the business, I was contacting my sphere of influence, I was door knocking, and then I was doing open houses. Those are my top three. And so whenever Brad got into the business, I just taught him to do what I knew how to do. And that's how we got started. I mean, whenever I was an individual agent, when I was in Ignite, I was like, well, I'm going to try everything and see what I like and what is working for me. And the stuff that you like doing is the stuff that you will continue to do. And that was also doubling down on what we knew how to do. So I was contacting my sphere of influence daily, asking for referrals in business, hosting open houses and following up like a machine with open house leads. That's means 7 to 8 to 10 times on follow-up before you ever get an appointment with them. And then for door knocking, I got one listing in an area that I ran the numbers and I realized it was a pretty good turnover rate. So then I started door knocking all the neighbors and invited them to the open house. And then I went back and I said, it was a similar market to what we're experiencing. We had 105 people at the open house this weekend, which means that 104 are still looking for a house. You know, would you consider selling your house to one of my buyers? And so that snowballed into as more and more door knocking went on, I just took more listings and that's now our geographic farm. So we're doing both of those. And then when Brad got into the business, we had an overflow of buyers. And I don't know if you want to talk about the lead gen sources there either, but.
Well, and when I first got into business, I had a wide range of like backgrounds. I've always been more on like the operations side, both in the golf business and most recently before joining, I was in office trailer and construction business. So I used that as an opportunity when I first started to say, hey, I'm in a new career opportunity. This is what I'm doing and I'm all in. You know, how can I be of service to you like I was of service to you in the golf business and in the construction industry? But also with coaching, I had, your advice that I was a golfer. So where do I go? I go to golf courses. So I would strike up conversations with people even at the driving range to try to build up that sphere there. But when I first started, you were overwhelmed with sellers and with buyers. So I took over your buyers for you, and was doing open houses on your listings so that you could lead generate and get more, really.
Right.
And procure those listings and procure those leads into buyers.
Yeah, while you were in the car showing all of our buyers around, it freed me up to make more phone calls.
Mhm.
And honestly, from the time that you got into the business, I stopped door knocking a little bit, and we just built our farm area around that.
Mhm.
So then just recently we started door knocking again in the farm to meet more people, get more
Yeah.
listings.
And then as we progressed, another lead generation source that we had was getting more on the social media. And not so much that we were promoting listings or that we were going out to do showings or anything like that, but it was more just being real with who we are and what we like to do. You started doing your cooking series videos, and we were getting a lot of traction out of that.
Not on purpose.
No, not on purpose. But just other ways for us to show who we are as people and just be real. And it's led to a lot of follow-up conversation with folks in our influence and our like friends list, I guess, that have actually reached out to us via that way for being real and just showing off who we are, like as people, that we've actually been able to drum up some business that way as well.
Yeah. Joe, did that answer your question?
Yes, it did. So basically on the door knocking approach, you would door knock on the area that you were having an open house. And then went back and said, hey, we had all these people interested and they still didn't get anything. Is that to your neighborhood, or is that, separate from your neighborhood? And what does your farming consist of?
Okay, good question. So the listing where I started the door knocking domino effect, I guess you could say, was just, it just was a listing I got from somebody in our sphere of influence. I think it was my first ever listing. And I started realizing that as I was going down door knocking, inviting everyone to the open house and then following back up, that there were quite a few people that were taking me up on a listing appointment. I mean, literally that script was, hey, we've got an open house on Saturday 1 to 4. Would you like to come by? And then they're like, oh yeah, whatever, maybe, see ya, bye, never, like the normal door knocking stuff that you get. And then I would go back to the same doors after we had the open house and use that script. We had 107 people come by. That means 106 are still looking for a house. Are you sure you've never considered selling your house before?
So if you don't have a good, let's say you had 3 people come to the open house, do you go by and say we had 3 people at the open house?
We had
I'm just using that as an example.
yeah, we had an amazing open house and
Yes.
all of these.
So you would just
could-
not use it, you wouldn't use the
Yeah.
number, you would just say it was amazing.
That's right.
Okay.
Yep. Just, we had so many people come through, they don't have to know the number.
No, I know, I was just saying if it wasn't, I mean, how do you just not do it, or do you just sort of wing it?
And then once I had done that with an open house, I think we actually at the time had 2 weekends worth of open houses. So I had done that a couple weekends in a row. And by that time I started running the numbers on this particular neighborhood and realized that the turnover rate was pretty close to 10%. I mean, it was somewhere between 7 and 10, like it was a good enough area to start farming. So that's how I got into that.
Well, and the other thing we did with that particular farm is that we realized they didn't have a neighborhood Facebook page.
Yeah.
So we created one for them. And we started,
There's no HOA.
yeah, there's no HOA. So we started, I think the first event we ever did, we set up shop at a stop sign outside of the carpool lane and handed out cups of coffee and granola bars.
Yeah, we did breakfast on the go.
Yep.
We've done the sidewalk chalk art contest. That really took our Facebook group from like the same 30 to 40 people to 160 people practically in one weekend.
Yeah.
Because we got all the neighbors to vote for their favorite sidewalk chalk art. And so all the moms and the dads were adding their friends so that they could
Mhm.
vote on their kids' art.
Didn't we do, was it Memorial Day weekend last year?
Yeah, somewhere.
Something like that.
Somewhere in May.
And what we did was we went to Next Day Signs,
Mhm.
and we had 10 signs created, and people that registered on the Facebook page, we would go over to the house and we would put a sidewalk chalk contestant sign in their front yard, which drew up a bunch more interest to where we ended up printing off another, dozen more signs?
Well, we
We're
ran
pretty
out of
close.
signs.
Yeah.
And so once we didn't have time by the time the contest was over. So
Yeah.
next year, if we do it again this year, we would need more signs.
Yeah, but it drew up a lot of interest. And then there was other families and kids that saw, oh, well, their friends down the street were doing sidewalk chalk, how do we register? How do we get into it? And so they would actually reach out to us, and then we would go and either bring them a sign or tell them, we would take pictures and say that we were judging, which we did.
Yep. And then
And we
I
ended
put
up
it
going to
out.
what, like 30 houses?
We didn't have that many people enter. I think it was under 10.
Was it? Okay.
Yeah. And then I took pictures and then made a poll. And so then everybody could vote on the poll. And then people just started adding their friends. So it was
Mhm.
great.
And even to this day, we get a couple requests a week of people wanting to join the Facebook page.
Yeah.
So I think we're up over 200 now, whereas a year and a half ago it was nothing. It didn't even exist.
When you originally created the Facebook page, because I thought about doing that before, and how did you find I mean, you know, I know some people like to invite that I'm friends with that are in the area, but how do you
So-
get the people's names to?
It was kind of slow at the beginning.
Yeah.
I mean, it just kind of slowly takes off, but I just started adding people on Facebook as a personal friend that I had met in the neighborhood, and then I invited them to join the group. And then you make it to where, like ours has, you have to answer some questions to join the group. What street do you live on? You know, what's something interesting people might not know about you, and like just random questions. And the whole purpose is to figure out what street they live on, and then we double check that with the Collin County Appraisal District to make sure that they're actually living there.
Okay.
And then if they're a realtor, I don't let them in the group. I look them up, and I don't care if they live in the neighborhood or not, I don't let them in. And then if they don't live in the neighborhood, we decline their request.
Right. Wow, you're exclusive.
Yes, we've had agents who live in the neighborhood try to join, and I just decline their request. So, and then we've gotten some great PTA people that are really involved with the school, cross promote some of the school events. Because it's a typical Plano neighborhood where the school's right in the middle of this big block of houses, you know, and everybody goes to the same elementary school.
And
I
then
know what listing it is you're talking about, I remember it.
It's on Crossvent.
Yes, it was. You're staying in the middle, right?
Yes, that's right.
Mhm.
but other lead generation sources that we're doing, we have the farming and then the Facebook pages. We also do newsletters to our sphere, past clients.
And that started with, like when we were more closer to the 5 million mark, that started what was doing Brian Buffini's newsletters. I was not creating any of the content. It was just something hitting people's mailbox every single month.
Yeah.
Consistently. And that was easy to do.
Yeah. And then as we've had more time and more stuff to talk about, we decided to kind of do our own newsletters, just to be a little bit more specific to what it is, you know, who we are and then what we're doing. And then also like the community that we're in.
Right.
And we send that to everybody. Like even we send it out to Las Vegas. Like we've got friends and family out there all the way out back to Michigan where I'm from. And people still comment on our newsletters. But yeah, I mean, you started that from the very beginning, and then like even going up to like where we're at now, you know, we're doing social media stories or, you know, post a couple times a week, you know, for like just various listings or like seasonal activities or like Easter, for example.
Yep. A lot of our marketing revolves around holidays.
Yeah.
Okay. Joe, did you have any other follow-up questions on that?
No, that's good. Thank you very much.
Okay. All right. And then what else? So Jay. Oh, Brad or Larry wants to know how you stay out of trouble. He doesn't.
Yes, dear. That's how I do it.
Yes, dear. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Okay. What do y'all do to turn off the real estate conversations? Oh, well, we don't.
That's a whole other topic, which we've done social media stories on that one as well.
We used to have a 7 p.m. cutoff, like after 7, we wouldn't talk about real estate. That's kind of
Yeah.
gone to the wayside since COVID, especially.
Well, when we first started real estate, I was in the construction industry, so I was working sun up to sundown, Monday through Friday. I'd have weekends off, and then Jessica would be working sun up to sundown and then some on Saturdays and Sundays. So the joke was I got into real estate so that I could see my wife and we could be married, because we really didn't see each other very often for a while there. But also, I mean, I did really get into real estate because I wanted to make a change, and I always wanted to get into business for myself, but I never had the push or the, I guess, guts to just jump out and do it. And having Jessica already in there really helped. with me being more comfortable making that transition. But as far as, when do we turn off the conversations? It's kind of tough, but we always set the expectation with our clients on the very first consultation with, we're available to you from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., Monday through Saturday. Friday night is date night. And for the most part, even during COVID, it is. Like, we put the phones down even if we're at the house. And then we say we try to take Sundays off. That's our one day off together. Now, especially in this market, if there's a house that you really want to see or you need information on, let us know and we can find somebody that can open a door for you and show you. That's really our script. And that's how we've really been able to keep our Sundays. The cool thing is with setting that expectation is when the clients actually hold us up to it.
Yeah.
We get a lot of clients that say, I know it's date night on Fridays, but I have a question. Can we answer this? I'm like, yeah, we can do this. Or Sunday, I'm not available, but I'll find somebody that can, or that can open a door for you and answer those questions. That's really how we've been able to keep the real estate conversation, or keep, turn it off, so to speak, being married and then also working together.
Jay's question was, how did we go from 5 to 10?
Mhm.
And I think, I think I did 7 my first year. So I don't know that I have a really great answer, but for me, it was always having a coach and being able to forecast what I would need our team to look like in the future, to basically start practicing as if you're a $10 million producer, even though you're not. What steps do I have to have in place? What team members do I have to have going and building a bench to get that in place? I mean, even now, as we're thinking about going from 17 to 30 or 35 million this year, we're thinking about longevity of who's on the school bus and is everybody on the right seat on the bus. So I think when you came into the business, I have been doing this for 2 years, and I was kind of, as an individual agent, went from 7 to I think 12 that first and second year. And I was drowning. I mean, get an assistant as soon as possible.
Yeah, I would say the biggest thing that you learned from your first year to second year was leveraging your time.
Yeah, and just to be clear, Marcia, I used from the very beginning. I still don't know how to get paid. She did everything for me with the green sheets. I still have no idea how to log in. Never done it before. Don't need to. I mean, Marcia did everything for me, and that was huge, leveraging that. And then Aaron Porter with the listings, that was key. I mean, don't waste your time on that when you could be calling somebody and asking for more business. What else? Let's see. After 2 years in the business, you joined, helped with the buyers, and obviously the MREA model says to hire an assistant first. And when you joined, I knew that you weren't going to be my assistant. I needed help to get to all the people. And then we hired Morgan, and that was a process. I mean, that took us a lot of time to look for her and find her. I mean, we
went through the full career visioning process.
I took career visioning, I think, twice before we hired Morgan, and then I've taken it twice more since then. Still don't know everything about it. But we put her job description we put out on Indeed, one of the, we
did Indeed, and then we did Wise Hire.
Wise Hire, WIZE hire.com is great. They will syndicate to all of the job posting boards for, I think it's $250 a month, and then there's no what's that called? Subscription fee. You can just go month to month. And whenever the person fills out the application and submits their resume, it asks them to take a DISC personality profile. So that was great. So I automatically knew kind of their DISC and had their resume next to it. So we had over 250 applicants. What year was that we hired her? 18. So we had over 250 applicants. We narrowed it down. So of the 250 applicants, only half actually filled out the entire DISC and went through the whole process. So automatically I knew that if you can't follow instructions, you're out. So of the 125, we narrowed it to 20 phone interviews. We brought 6 people in for the initial face-to-face. We took 4 of them through the KPA process. And then between Morgan and one other candidate, we interviewed her 8 times from start to finish. I mean, it was a beating is what it was, but it was worth it because we got Morgan, and she's been fantastic.
Yeah.
And so from then we really looked at, okay, who else do we need to add to the team, either leveraging out or part-time or virtual assistant or bringing somebody on full-time. And now we have Julia and Ashley is a full-time transaction or accounts manager. She does our listing coordination and transaction coordination. So Jay, I don't know if I answered your question there at all, but I would say, you know, leveraging your time so that you can do more lead generation would be the first thing I would do.
Thank you. How about you, like your lead gen? I know you mentioned a little bit about like what you started, but what are you doing like now? Like, you know, COVID, you know, it's at least my experience right now. And I know I talked to a lot of people. It's a seller's market, which is great, but you can't get any listings. You know, what are you guys doing to get the numbers you're doing this year? And like, where's like, you know, is it just from open houses or just from Sphere? And like, you know, some meat and potatoes, some details would be great. Thank you.
Okay. So I had Morgan pull every single listing appointment I've been on since 2017. And we went through all of them, and the ones like, you know how if you go on a listing appointment and you're tracking your numbers because they don't want to sell right now, I count that as a lost appointment. So like my conversion rate is not great because I count those as no's, even though it's just a not right now. So I went back to 2017 and we've called through everybody that I've been on a listing appointment with since 2017 and asked all of them. And a couple of them have come out of the woodwork or at least are starting to think about it. And we have what am I trying to say? Appointments with them for the future. So that's been really helpful. I went through all of my sphere of influence and we're talking to them about how great the market is and how we have on market and off market options. Because I think some sellers kind of panic about all these people coming into their house and where they're going to go for a hotel because it's so crazy. And you just have to be the solution provider. Let's see, what else have we done to get listings? Sphere of influence is big. We've done some open houses here more recently. We've done door knocking more recently. We've set Julia, 3 listing appointments from door knocking just like in the last 2 weeks. And then we are buying a few leads from Wailopo, and they have just now, and it's been like 6 months, just now started to produce some stuff for us. Right. And Julia's been great about following up with them. So, and we're finding that the seller leads are in the buyers. So if somebody's registering on a Facebook ad and they're a buyer, they probably have a house to sell. You need to ask them about it.
Well, another thing that we're starting to see traction on is we've got several colleagues, Sphere, that told us in the past, like, oh, well, when our last one's a senior in high school, that's when we'll sell. And so we started following up with them just to say, hey, a couple years ago, you said, you know, when the youngest was about ready to graduate, you would sell. Like, now's a great seller's market if you have the flexibility to do so. And what do you think? And we've got at least 2 calls now for listing appointments in the coming weeks to explore those options. So it's not set in stone that it's going to be a listing, but at least we've got the information or they're thinking about it.
I think, I think the other thing, Jay, is having a mindset of literally every single person you talk to, at least at some point in the conversation, ask, have you ever considered selling your house? Ever just even a little bit considered selling your house? Like, have that sense of urgency with people. And they're like, well, actually, now that you mention it, my wife and I did, think about it a couple months ago. Or, I mean, it's just an opening to have the conversation. And while they may not be your most highly qualified listing appointment, at least you planted the seed and you have something to follow up with them about. And when that's the opportunity to get them before they start interviewing other people, because you have an option at the very beginning of their thought process because you planted the seed. Yeah.
And I'm getting a lot of traction with, you heard it in bold last year with that Ford conversation, the family, occupation, recreation, and dreams or desires. Just having the conversation with people to say, and they ask me afterwards, like, so what's the real estate market like? And that's a golden opportunity to say it's unlike anything we've ever seen before, to where, if you could want to sell your house, you could probably get your number. And I've had a couple conversations where like, oh, well, my numbers, there's no way I could get it because it's this. It's like, what's your address? Let me run some numbers and see. You might be closer than you think. Depending on the price point and with the way the buyers are coming through right now, we're 70, 80% year over year lower in inventory than we were a year ago. mean, there's opportunity there if they're flexible. It's just having the conversation. That's the toughest part.
And then if they're not in a position to sell or have never considered it, who of your family, friends, neighbors, coworkers have considered, using that, who do you know that not, well, if you think of somebody, or if somebody, not if, like, who do you know that has ever considered selling in the next 6 months, and give them a timeline.
Right.
I mean, we have that conversation with literally everyone.
And we're starting to door knock and reach out to people that we know just for our buyers that have said, this is where I want to be, but there's nothing available. And it's like, okay, well, if you're driving down the street and there's a particular neighborhood that you like, and I had this conversation yesterday, narrow it down to what street and I'll knock on doors and say, I've got a buyer for your property right now. Can we talk? And so that it's just the ways that we're trying to get out there and be more active for our clients.
So you are buying the leads, you started buying leads, and so who were the companies that you thought about buying leads from, and why did you choose the one you chose?
We chose Wailopo, and it has a website integration feature, and they're doing the targeted, we're doing pay-per-click ads right now. We're not putting any money in Facebook ads, only Google pay-per-click. And there's some minimums, they have different tiers and whatever. But the reason we started doing that is because the website feature is so good that we can see on the back end when they're searching. They can, we get alerts whenever they start looking at the same property over and over. They can ask us to see a property. And so it's just, internet leads are a totally different animal. We all know that, it's a numbers game too, but we just feel like, it also has a artificial intelligence feature. So they're texting and they think it's a real person, even though it's not.
Okay.
And so it allows us as a team to have more leverage to contact these people at weird hours when none of us are actually working.
Sure.
And then to follow up on, do you want to say anything about those leads? No. Julia calls all the internet leads and pre-qualifies them all for us and sets the appointments too.
So, there's somebody that Julia is dedicated to dealing with that all the time. Like, it has to be constantly managed. That's the part that has scared me about the buying, because I don't know that I could, I do have leverage, but I don't have like a full-time assistant that would be doing that.
So when
like an internal buyer's agent or whatever, seller's agent.
When we first started with Wailopo was in September. We're just trying to think of a different lead generation source and versus door knocking or open houses, which we weren't comfortable at the time doing.
Right.
And nobody would have opened the doors for us anyways
Right.
during COVID.
So we were like, okay, what are we gonna do? Let's try something new. And so we had talked to a few people in actually in our office about what they were doing. And this is one that was interesting. And so we started with them like fully in September. It wasn't until maybe 3 weeks ago. Julia started with us in January, right? We were not calling them.
No, I know, that's what I'm saying. I don't
Yeah.
think that I would.
And we were horrible at following up,
Yes.
and we didn't have Julia.
Yes.
So it wasn't until Julia started and it was a full-time dedicated person to do that we started seeing results. However, there's Conversion Monster is a company that will call them, like whenever they're a high priority a lead alert, they will call them for you and have a conversation. It's still not as good as somebody who knows
Sure.
you,
Right.
but it's something that they weren't at least falling to the wayside.
I've had multiple conversations with companies that contact me, and it all sounds very interesting, but I know that I would be horrible. Like, I just wouldn't do it. I don't know that I could.
Well, the interesting thing about the program that we're using is that while it is artificial intelligence that's having these conversations, they're actually having legitimate conversations or legitimate responses back to them. But it's the follow-up for us. Like we were doing it. We were having some conversations and all that, but if you don't time block it, it's really, really difficult.
Well, it's a huge investment once you've done
Yeah.
all of that. You have to make it work at that point.
Mhm.
It's got to.
And we actually served them, like put our notice in as a 90-day cancellation. And then all of a sudden they start coming out of the woodwork and we're like,
And we knew it going in, like some of the people in the market center that are using the same program said, it's going to take a couple months of just figuring it out, but the investment will pay off. And we're starting to see a return on it and positive traction. But yeah, after a couple months where you're struggling with it, it's very frustrating. And like we said, we served them notice. Luckily, they gave us 90 days because
it gave us time to research. Like,
research
we're gonna try to recreate this wheel in-house is gonna cost us about the same amount of money. And then it's gonna cost us more manpower to make those leads. Like, I'm not gonna sit there and create a lead that's getting the type of clicks that
Right,
they are.
Mhm.
yeah. Oh, no, I can't
Yeah.
Yeah.
do that at all. Y'all are probably better at that than I am.
And it's not, like, the internet leads are not part of our priorities necessarily. It's a supplemental thing that we
Sure.
did during COVID, and it's not one of the three main strategies or
Sure.
priorities that we have strategies for in our 135.
Yeah, well, see, that wouldn't be one of mine either, which is why I listen to what they have to say, and at the time, I'm like, this sounds great, and then as soon as I have to think about it, I'm like, I can't.
Yes, the amount of time you have to spend on it takes away from your other three, and the other
Sure.
three are what's paying the bills.
Yeah.
So then why even bother? So now we have more leverage where we can do that.
Right.
What other, I can't read. What other questions?
So we've gotten, Peggy Hill asked, like, what is the name of the lead source, which is YLOBO. But as far as like keeping the 90%, I know there's been a lot of conversation amongst like the market center and, of what are we, and like agents being like 90%, are we 70-30, 80-20, what is it? I mean, last year we were, I was at the final ALC meeting and we had all of our numbers in front of us and there was a written number on everybody's packet. And I didn't really know what that number was until Mike and Angie explained it. And because we had 96 on ours. So we were able to, last year, after breaking down commissions and fees and everything, we kept 96% of our commissions, which is an incredible number. But how would you say, like, what would be the best practices in how we did that?
Well, cap as soon as possible.
Yes. Because our anniversary is March 1st.
Yeah.
So we always try to cram everything in as much as we can before March 1st, or at least schedule it out to where it's like an early March closing.
I feel like every November and December, we're like, woo, we made it, high five, celebrate. And then by the time January and February rolls around, we're like, oh crap, where's all this business coming from?
Yeah.
And we're capping like next month and it feels like a scramble. And I think everybody probably does that a little bit. But like to top it all off, we start over on our cap in March. And so inevitably we have, as most people do, some business happening in March. And so it's because we're panicking in January, February. Where is this coming from? And then, so we end up capping pretty fast normally. This year I think is a little bit different, but I don't know about you, but I was uber panicked this year just with the way the market's going. We've never had more buyers and fewer buyers under contract, just the nature of the beast right now, trying to find opportunities for our buyers. But, and then, so we've all as a team been focusing on sellers.
Yeah. But last year, even amongst the pandemic and like we struggled in March and April, I think everybody did. And there was a dip in our numbers. But I think where we were able to keep open lines of communication with our clients and let them know, depending on what certain areas, we can do this. Like Dallas County last year was a struggle. And even then we had sellers and even buyers trying to buy in Dallas County. So it was kind of a holding pattern there. But other areas were open to business or like, going in the show listings. We couldn't do open houses, obviously. But the demand was still there because people were still needing houses. So we were still trying to get out as much as we could safely. And so we're able to, get in there and get deals done, even when we thought inventory was low back then. Little did we know what was happening, but
I felt like more people were panicking. Like I had listings in and people would make offers and then rescind them within like 24 hours. They see it on the news and they freak out. And they never even saw it again. It was like not even an inspection. That was the hard part of that.
And now they're kicking themselves for not doing that.
Then it's like,
Yeah.
I felt like afterwards, they were all scrambling around trying to they thought they were gonna get some sort of great deal because of it, the buyers. It was like what do you call it, like a boomerang.
Yeah. As a reminder, I mean, you guys know, but I think some new people are on, and this is open communication. So whatever you want to know about, we're masterminding about. We covered our lead gen sources, and then sort of how we went from 5 to 10 million, in volume over the last couple of years. But if there's anything you guys want to know about, please put it in the chat or unmute yourselves and we'd be happy to answer anything you want to talk about. I don't know. Did you guys, were you in Dave Jenks' class the other night or other day? I thought that was really good too. Talking about like your special sauce and what your unique value proposition is. We've worked really hard on trying to distinguish ourselves. Like, you know, one of the scripts I use all the time and Julia's used too is our listing presentation is going to be completely different than anything you've seen before. And that's enough sometimes for them to be like, well, what is she talking about? Like, I gotta have her over. What does this mean? It's going to be different. So that's something that we've used, and our listing presentation is very different.
I've got our buyer presentation pulled up. We
Oh,
can pull that up.
Pull that up.
Thought I did. Hang on. Let's see.
Download.
Yep. Hold, please. Can you guys see that? The screen?
Did you share it, Brad?
I'm trying to.
I think they can just see us. There you go.
There we go.
There it is.
All right, so this is the next thing that we've done recently. We updated our full presentations last year. Kind of took a little bit of what like the new, sorry, I'm trying to get this to shrink. There we go. So we took a little bit of what we had seen in some of the bold presentations, like in 2019, some of the bold programs as far as listing presentations and buyer consultations, and then also kind of put our personal twist on it. And so we've had a lot of really good success with this to where, you know, we set the expectation and we outline like how this process is going to work from the start to finish. And so this is our buyer consultation. And one of the things that we've had a lot of success with is, you know, just with this table of contents page where we're going to talk about your dream home scenario, what your preferences are, your neighborhood preferences, the buying 101 process of starting from where we're at today all the way through closing, you know, getting pre-approved, finding a realtor, and then at the very end, introducing people to our team and who we are and what our services are and what our promises are to them. And we go through the entire process and probably bore people, most of them, with how many questions we ask, but and then we have a little bit of information on the app as well, which we give them the full link to our, you know, the branded KW app. But one of the more important things that we do before we even get into the meat and potatoes of the listing or even the buyer consultation is we just give them a pop quiz and we ask them, in the game of life, in the game of business, how is somebody going to win with you and how is somebody going to lose with you? And a lot of times they're going to say communication, knowing the market, full transparency, and whatever else it is, you know, win, lose. And then we really go into like, what is your wish list? What is your dream scenario? And how can we accomplish that for you? Now, we don't ask them every single question that we have listed here, but, you know, we'll pull a couple items, especially for the buyer consultation, and ask like, what are your non-negotiables? Just so I know up front. What is like the one thing that you cannot have? Is it a pool? Is it a garage, front-facing garage, or back alley, or a certain school district, et cetera? If we're standing outside the front of your home or front of the dream home, what does it look like to you? And you just have them describe that for us. So we feel like we spend a lot of time in this part on the consultation, probably, I would say, half an hour out of the 45 minutes to an hour that it takes to do a consultation, just asking all the questions. So that way we know and we can streamline the process for them moving forward. And also say, like, when we're at a house, like, oh, I really like this, or I really like that. And like, well, that's interesting because when we had the consultation, you said you didn't like that, or you said to stay away from that, or stay away from these, et cetera. And getting a full idea of what they want in the interior, you know, what open living space, kitchen area, bedrooms, bathrooms, and so on. And then talking about the neighborhoods. And if I'm going too fast, just let me know. I'm sorry.
And we can send this to.
Yeah, we can send this to you guys as well. Getting to know your neighborhoods and what and how we can help you, you know, learn more about neighborhoods and different school districts, mapping out your move and what that looks like to you. We've got a little bit more about, you know, what a buyer's market is through a seller's market, which not sure when we'll see a
Well,
buyer's market, but
I want to slow down on this because this is a conversation we've been having a lot with a lot of our buyers.
Mhm.
The graph on the right side of this page is, you know, a lot of buyers are like, well, I really don't want to overpay and why go compete, on and on. And to me, it's like, if you can show them, yes, you might be overpaying what an appraiser thinks the property is worth, but fast forward 5, 6, 12 months from now and the interest rate's higher, you pay me now or pay me later, it's the same monthly. And cash out of your pocket. So as the interest rates climb and our prices stay the same, it's gonna be even the same amount, or if not more, in mortgage rates. So anyway, in overall monthly payment, but we've kind of slowed down on that one right now a lot.
And then this page here is where we outline the entire home buying process from start to finish, from where we are right now. And usually we'll know before we even get into the conversation with them if they've been pre-approved or not. But, you know, first step's getting pre-approved. Second step would be finding a realtor, which we're working on now. And then we'll start looking. All the way down to submitting the offer, going through the option period, explaining that process to them for first-time home buyers, and really just making sure they feel as comfortable as possible. And when I'm going through the home buying or this part of the presentation, you know, just like what we're doing right now, I'm open to questions. I'd rather them have or ask questions either now or in the future than not ask them at all. So I try to make sure that we're, you know, clarifying everything throughout the entire process of what the inspection looks like and the repair process, all the way through. Now, the big conversation is what the appraisal process looks like, because offers are pretty much mandatory. They have to come in above list price, and what that looks like, especially if they're taking a loan, whether they're conventional, you know, FHA or even VA loans, you know, all the different loan programs, and how to be transparent from them or with them from the very beginning so that there's no surprises when we're in the house and we say, okay, we want to offer. You can't just tell them right then and there, like, yeah, you can't afford it. That's not the time to tell them that. So again, it just goes back to how we stay transparent and try to give them as much information at all times so that they're comfortable throughout the whole process.
You want to see if anybody has any questions about
Yeah.
that specifically, or maybe we're
Let me try to
off
open
base
this up.
altogether. We want to talk about what you guys want to talk about. We were not given an agenda. Whatever you guys want to talk about.
Oh, please.
Nobody, no other
No
questions about it? I see Ray on there. Ray's got to have a question.
Hey, how y'all doing?
Good, how are you?
I'm good. Nah, no questions at this time. Just trying to take it all in.
Ray, do you have a coach?
Of course. Charles, my coach.
Oh, Charles. He was on here a minute ago. There he is. Yes, I think a coach is huge. I mean, I've had a coach from the very beginning. And then whenever Brad and I got into the business together, we realized that, you know, the dynamic of working with your spouse is different sometimes. And so we specifically sought out a husband and wife coach, seeing that as coach that had done more production than, I mean, obviously still do a lot more production than we do, but we specifically sought them out for that reason, to kind of show us the path and some
Yeah.
different ideas.
Well, we had 2 years where we did a bunch of different things and we were still getting the same kind of results, hovering right around the same amount of units and same volume as in terms of dollar volume. So yeah, we sought out, new coaches. In fact, they're not even MAPS coaches, but they agreed to consult with us. I'd say it's more of a consulting
Yeah.
relationship, but it's also a lot of coaching as well. Because we saw them as where we want to be next as a husband and wife team. And so we're working with Joanne and Tom Curtin out of Atlanta, Georgia. So that's been huge for us. We've been with them for 16 months now. So, I mean, coaching's huge and, you know, we've got Bold coming up. I'm looking forward to it because I feel like it's been a while since I've actually done a Bold or I've had that, that mindset, so to speak. So it's just, we're always trying to learn. We're always trying to expand. We're always trying, and we're not afraid to do different things to get different results.
We also started implementing the 12-week year this year.
Yeah.
It's been really great. And we have.
If you guys haven't read that book, I highly encourage it. The 12-week year. The premise around it is it splits your year into quarters. And then you have your 13th week is like your recovery week where you regroup and then you reassess and you move on to your next 12. What are you going to do differently? How are you going to achieve, or what's your next goals for the next 12 weeks?
This week is recovery week.
Yeah. So we're in recovery week now. And then Monday is our second 12-week session.
Any other questions? What are you thinking, Cindy?
Nothing. I mean, I get completely overwhelmed about what I can do, and I tend to be a control freak. So I have to get beyond that.
Yeah.
I'm trying very hard.
I mean, there's still some times where, well, ask Morgan, but I'm a pretty good delegator.
You're also very good with ideas.
I have a lot of ideas, but, you know, I probably put too much on your plate or everybody's plate and then have high expectations of what it should be like and not realize that it's more important that my time is freed up to do what I need to be doing that nobody else can do. And then allow everybody else to do the other things, even though it may not be exactly how I want it to be done, it still got done versus not getting anywhere.
Well, that's where I struggle. I will tell somebody to do something, and then I end up like, no. I just go back and then start doing it. So I struggle with it, but since Tish and I did our team, she's the complete opposite with me. I don't like to delegate hardly anything, and she likes to delegate everything. So hopefully I'll learn from her.
Yeah, Brad doesn't ask Morgan to do anything.
See,
I get in trouble for not delegating enough.
I get in trouble for that. I've gotten in trouble for that since January several times. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I didn't know how much of a control freak I was until until we started working together more. Well, full time, I should say, but.
I really feel like the twilight zone of an individual agent is like 10 million in volume. I mean, you never see them because they're so busy.
Yeah.
They're doing it all.
Yes.
And so you can't get past that until you find other people because you only have so much time.
Mhm.
And if you can't get your time back, then you're just going to keep doing the same thing. And it's like a hamster wheel.
Yeah. I would say the biggest thing for us to get from where like you started to like when I first started was leveraging time and delegating, which I'm still struggling with delegating. Morgan will vouch for me on that because if she's ever going to yell at me, it's going to be for that because I don't give her enough to do or I don't say I need help. But really it was like having the transaction coordinator is massive. Like Marcia was a huge help.
I have Aaron and I have all that stuff that I tend to do most of it for them. Like I'll do it. I won't even ask. Like I
Just pretend like you're on vacation. They have to do it.
yes.
There's no one else to do it.
Yes. Yeah, I need to be better about that. I think that's really what holds me back the most is my controlling issues.
I bet Larry lets Marcia do it. Right, Larry?
As much as you will.
Yes. I'm ready.
Yeah.
Just be there.
Yeah. I mean, that was a huge thing for us to get Morgan, and then it probably took us a year to really feel like, all right, now we've got some
A rhythm.
momentum going.
Yeah.
Yeah, then we went on vacation. We thought we'd be rebranded to like the Morgan team.
Yeah.
Seriously, we were like, we've got to get out of town. And she's like, I know, leave,
Oh.
go away. So, I mean, that was one of the, it is a huge benefit. So Carl has a question. He asked, thank you for sharing your time. What is the CRM you use these days? And do you recommend a type to text service aside from Ylopo?
Okay, so we have always had 2 CRMs. We have always used, before Command, we used eEdge, and that was where all of my leads lived. So like anytime we had an open house lead, door knocking lead, whatever, I put them in eEdge. And then at the time I had Referral Maker for Brian Buffini, and that's where all my sphere of influence lived, and I kept them separate. And so hindsight 2020, I probably should have just had them in one and then had tags for each so that I could still communicate to them regularly. But the leads weren't getting communicated to enough as an individual agent trying to break through. And like I didn't have them set up on a plan for me to just set it and forget it. It was more when I thought about it and I worked in there. Now what we have is all of our sphere of influence is in Command. And then we have Follow-Up Boss, which is, I think it's only like $60 a month for one user. And the reason that we have Follow-Up Boss is because it integrates with Ylopo. So we only recently got Follow-Up Boss because of Ylopo in August or September. So long story short, all of our leads live in Follow-Up Boss, and then all of our sphere of influence lives in Command. And what was the second part of that question?
Do you recommend a type to text service aside from Ylopo?
We did, what is that one that Command has integrated? Not Twilio.
It is Twilio,
Twilio?
the text.
Yes, we had that going for a little while and then realized that the people responding, either we didn't have it set up correctly to where the people that responded to the text didn't know who we were. Like it wasn't through my number, it was through a Twilio number. So that was kind of odd. So now I just have it set up to where if I need to text somebody, it sends me Command sends me a reminder to do it. Or Julia will remind me, follow us. So, and then Morgan also sends us sends me every week whose birthday it is this week, whose purchase anniversary and sale anniversary it is. And then I use that to send cards and call also off that list.
Mm-hmm.
That answer the question? Okay, awesome. Like binoculars to see that far.
It's behind you, but it's things.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
You probably can see it better as on now.
There you go. Now you can see the chat.
I don't need to see it.
What else? Anything? I don't know that we really gave any concrete answers on how to go from 5 to 10.
Well, we can do another one and have more of a template.
Yeah.
I mean, was this helpful for you guys? And would you guys want to see another one?
I would. I mean, these
Okay.
these are the.
Okay.
Okay.
So I know we've
Yes,
gotten a lot.
Yes.
Okay. I know we've gotten a lot of feedback, just through the ALC, and then even amongst the ALC last year, we were trying to figure out like what are some ways to reach out to more people and just have conversations like this. And Masterminds was a really big one. So I'm open to doing a lot more of these and would be happy to help. If you guys are interested in doing another one of these, we would love to do it.
Yeah. I'm just thinking like, what did Peggy say? Oh, yeah. Well, you're welcome. Happy to help. But I think if I could go back and do it all over again, I would be much more organized about tracking the conversations I had with people. Like I got a text message yesterday from somebody I forgot I talked to about listing their house 8 months ago. And I'm like, oh yeah, she should be in Command or the Follow-Up Boss as a lead, and I should be setting her up on like quarterly calls, if not weekly at this point, to try to get her to list her house. And so, and then she reminded me about another buyer. Anyway, it's just, I would be more organized about putting them in a system to systematically follow up with them and be reminded instead of having to remember this kind of stuff.
Well, and last year you also started doing Gary's index card box.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's been great. So my coach, I'm very tactical. What is that? Tactile? Anyway, it doesn't matter.
I think that's right.
Tactile.
Yeah.
So,
Well, you have to have it in front of you and you have to see
Yes.
it. So for you, you're all about having like the paper.
yes.
Or the
I need
cards, or the index
physical, like,
cards.
To write, look at all this paper I have, you know, like this is how I operate.
Yeah.
So, if the lead goes into command or follow-up boss, either one, and there's not a reminder or they're just in there and I don't know how to get them out, then I lose them. And so, in the index card, there's a YouTube video about this. It's like from the 80s or early 90s. There's a big index card box and you have a different tab. You can get I got everything on Amazon, a tab for each month. And then only in 1 month do you have day 1 through 31. And so every person is an index card and you can make your notes directly on the index card for what you talked to them about last. And if they say, hey, call me in 3 months, you just take their index card, go 3 months down the line and put the index card in there. And then once you get to a new month, then you take all of the index cards and you put them in the days. So if I need to call 10 people a day, I need 10 index cards in each day. And then, okay, call me in 3 months, put it in the next one. And by the time I get 3 months down the road, you organize it by day again. So you really only have to think about who you're calling 1 time a month at the beginning of the month, and you organize them all 10 a day, and then it's done. So.
Well, and you're not using like the little 3x5 business
No, they're
cards. You've
big.
got like the
5x7.
5x7 or 6x8 cards. And you're updating just like you would in command, but you're doing it physically on the paper, like updating what your conversation was and when you called them and when you talked to them, and then you're refiling that.
Yeah.
Into the next month.
And I have mine set up to where anybody that's on a white index card is a lead. Anybody that's on a blue index card is like a past client or a sphere of influence. And then anybody that's on a green index card is somebody who sent us a referral before. And so the idea is for your entire index card box to be green so that you're just continuing to ask for referrals. So that's the way I think about it. So I want all my index cards to be green. And that's another thing is teaching your people how to send you referrals is big for us. So we also are teaching our people how to leave us reviews. You know, they don't know how big of a deal that is, and that's something easy they can do. So those are things that I think helped propel us also.
Yeah, we really focused on that within the last year because we found, you know, we've heard about it enough, but we've also, and with coaching and everything, but we started seeing results where the more we're teaching our clients to leave a review, the more it's in their mind that when they hear a friend of theirs or family member say, I'm thinking about selling or I'm looking to buy, I've got the perfect realtor for you. Or you need to talk to my realtor or my friends or, you know, Brad and Jessica. And so we've seen a lot of feedback from that. And then also we started getting, our coach told us that we really need to get back into doing more client events. Even during COVID, they looked at our P&L and said, you're not spending any money on your clients. In fact, you're hardly spending any.
On lead gen.
On lead gen. And they said, well, that means like client events. So we started changing that up, you know, with the COVID regulations or ways of doing things to where Christmas time, we did family portraits and Zoom call with Santa. And we did it at Stonebriar Country Club and we got it sponsored to where we could, the venue was sponsored. So we had one room about the size of this training room where we had a professional photographer come in. They had their photos done. And then we had in the boardroom of Stonebriar Country Club, we had on a laptop, we had Santa. He was actually from Atlanta. So he was Santa from Atlanta. And he was a legit Santa Claus too. I mean,
It was great.
full costume or
Yes.
full suit. He had the whole set and it wasn't a Zoom background. It was an actual set at his house.
At the North Pole. What do you
At the,
think?
sorry, at the North Pole. I'm sorry. What am I thinking?
Atlanta then.
But it was a huge hit because when we sent the invitations out, we asked all the parents, like, can you give us 1 or 2 things on their RSVP? Give us 1 or 2 things that your kids are looking forward to this year or that they're going to ask Santa for. And so we had that list. And so when they were on the Zoom call, Santa knew exactly who was coming because we would say, oh, hey, we've got the Jockos or the Smiths coming. And he had on his list of who was up next. And so he knew exactly what to say and what the kids' names were. And the kids were blown away because a lot of them weren't going to get an opportunity to see Santa or wait in line at the mall and be able to do that this year. And so we had separate contests where of the people that came, if they left us a review or if they gave us contact information, we did a raffle at the end for a gift card of their choice. It was a $250 gift card. They ended up picking, I believe, an Amazon card, the winner. And then recently we did a drive-through date night where we ordered pizzas and wine. It was the week of Valentine's Day, so luckily we did it before the snowstorm. And otherwise that would have been a disaster. But we had it at the market center and we ordered 57 pizzas. And we didn't do Little Caesars Hot and Ready's, and we did Joe's Pizza, and Joe's provided the wine.
And we try to patronize local businesses. That's
Mhm.
important to us. And that was one of our most successful events. It was easy for people to RSVP. It was easy for people to swing by in a window of time. We got FaceTime with them for a few minutes and then thanked them. And then they had an opportunity to leave us a review to get an extra. I think we did Starbucks gift cards.
Yeah, we did Starbucks gift cards.
If they left us a review or sent us a referral in advance, we gave them an extra Starbucks gift card.
Mhm.
And then we had 45 people RSVP and we had 45 people come. That has never happened at our events before. And it was like 9 degrees outside. So
Yeah.
that was really impressive.
And then going back to the first conversation that we had on this mastermind, when we talked about starting the Facebook group, we advertised it at the last minute to the Facebook group and said, hey, if you're needing date night ideas or if you're just needing dinner and a bottle of wine through the cold weather that's coming up, come on by, here's what we're doing. And we ended up having an extra 4 or 5 people come by that we've never met before. We don't even know who they are, but they're in our database now. They're getting our newsletter. They know who we are. They know about the future events that we're going to have in the farm. So it's been a huge hit doing the client events that way.
Wait, we're at probably overtime.
Yeah, we've gone over a little bit,
Sorry.
but I mean, we're here. So, I mean, hopefully this is all helpful to everybody. I think maybe we can try to do another one of these here soon or next coming couple weeks. But if you guys have any other questions or anything, please feel free, reach out to us, text, email, Facebook, whatever. We'd be happy to help you or, try to mastermind in the future as best we can.
We can put our contact info in the
Yeah,
chat.
let me do that.
Stick around for a couple minutes, but if y'all have any questions, send them in the chat or you can contact us directly.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I need to go hang up on here. I didn't know if I wasn't gonna get let in, so I thought I would leave it on just in case it would take me an hour to figure out how to work. Thank you for letting me borrow it.
Good job.
Good job.
I peeked in a couple of times.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good, good, good.
Looked like you having fun doing it.
Yes, it was.
Yeah.